Hello Niall, hello Thames, and welcome to a new week of maths. And this week we are taking a look at something that we find very handy for telling the time, and that is a clock. Okay, now clocks come in lots of different shapes and sizes. There are two main types. You might see a clock a bit like this, maybe in the corner of your computer screen or on a microwave or a radio at home. And that is, we call a digital clock. It tells the time with numbers. But actually what we're going to look at today is the kind of clock you will often see hanging on the wall in a building. Maybe you've got one somewhere in your house. You've certainly seen them at school. And that is a clock like this. And this is known as an analog clock. Okay. First of all, look at the shape of it. Okay, can you see what shape that is? No corners, round all the way around. Yeah, most clocks of this kind are circular. They're a circle shape. Okay, and the bit that kind of is at the back of the clock that has the numbers written on it has the same name as the front of your head, where your eyes, nose and mouth are. It's called the clock face. Okay, and then you can see that there are numbers going around it. Have a really close look and have a look at where the numbers are and which way they're going. Which number's at the top of the clock? Is it the number that you thought would be at the top of the clock? Which is the lowest number that you can see? All analog clocks will have this number here, the number 12, at the top. And then going around, and it's always in the same direction, and we call this direction of going round clockwise, because it's the way the clock goes. Next is 1, then 2, and so on. Okay? And you can see that there are also little marks in between. And then in the very middle of the clock, there's a place where these two kind of lines, in fact there's 3 of them on this clock because there's a red one that's moving, come out of the middle. Now these have the same name as those useful things on the ends of your arms. They're called hands. And if you look closely, you might notice, concentrate on the black hands, you might notice something about those. You know, one of those is longer than the other. Okay? So what would be really useful to do is for you to find a clock that looks like this. Now, if you don't have one at home, don't worry. Okay? Mums and dads can look on the plan for this week, and there are a couple of links to clocks on the internet that you can actually show the time that's happening right now, or if you want to practice telling the time to the nearest hour, and that's something we'll look at a bit later in the week, you can do that as well. Okay, so, but if you can have a look at a clock like this at home, it's great. Now, I've taken this one very carefully down off the wall, okay, and obviously I'm going to put it back very carefully when I'm finished, because clocks aren't always the strongest thing, so we need to be very, very careful. And perhaps mums and dads give you a bit of a hand if you want to look at one a bit more closely. Okay. Now, this clock isn't actually a real clock. If you look at the back of it, there's no batteries and there's no workings. This is actually a clock that we've probably looked at school together before. It's a teaching clock, and I can actually turn the hands around. Okay. Can you see that? Can you see that the blue hand has gone all the way around the clock, and the red hand only went a little way? Okay, so the blue hand is what we normally call the minute hand. It moves as a minute goes by. Okay, so in fact here, you look really closely, the clock's showing you that that's 5 minutes have gone past. And the short hand, the red hand here, is actually the hand that tells you what hour is going on. All right? So a really good way of practicing the time is just to ask a grown-up what the time is, and the grown-up can tell you, and then you might, once you get more confident, be able to recognise the time, especially when the minute hand is pointing straight up. But tomorrow, Miss Knight's going to show you how you could make a little clock face of your very own that you can use to practice with. And then later in the week, we'll have a really good go at seeing if we can tell the time to the nearest hour, and we might even use a little nursery rhyme that's all about telling the time to help remind us of how the clock goes. Take care, and we'll see you next time.